Hello, Professor Garcia. My name is Riley Keane, and today I will be presenting my professional video on Chapter Seven's Problem 1. The primary tool I will be showcasing in this is the Goal Seek feature. So for Problem 7, it goes, Miscellaneous Bakery is considering adding a new line of pies to its product offering. Each pie will sell for $17 with a variable cost of $11. Total fixed costs of $25,000. Miscellaneous has a marginal tax rate of 25%, interest expense with the line of $3,500, and expects to sell 4,500 pies in the first year. So the first step is to create an income statement for the pie line and determine if it will be profitable. So let's start with the assumptions. Now we can start making the income statement itself. So for a tax, I'm going to hard code in a 0 because if we were to do the tax calculation normally, we get a negative number because we are already taking a loss by the time we get to EBT, and we wouldn't have a negative tax. I'm going to put that in as a 0, and then we get to our net income of negative $1,500. So based on this, we can tell that the line is not going to be profitable in the first year. So next, the operational break-even point in both units and dollars. So the operational break-even point is going to be what's going to make our EBIT equal 0. It's not our bottom line net income that we're worried about for this. So break-even. So for this, we're going to do our marginal profit per pie divided by the fixed costs. Oops, no, fixed costs divided by marginal. That gets us 4,166 and 6 repeating pies. So this is the exact point where it breaks even at 4,166 pies. We're just below breaking even, and at 4,167 pies, we have just gone over breaking even or started making profit in the operational section alone. So I'm going to leave this as 4,166 and 6 repeating so that we know it's not a full number of pies, but in between. And we can use this to get our break-even dollars. So we take break-even units, multiply it by the price per pie, and we get $70,833 and 33 repeating for the number of sales of pies or the break-even dollars at the top operationally. So next, how many pies would Miss Elenas need to sell in order to achieve an EBIT of $20,000? So do that. Determine the number of pies we would need to sell. I'm going to take this fixed cost plus 20,000. So we're going to need $45,000 in marginal profit. So we can divide that by the marginal profit. So to get our EBIT to $20,000, we're going to need to sell 7,500 pies. So that's 3,000 more than what we're currently at to get our EBIT specifically to 20,000. So next, we're going to use the goal seek feature to determine the selling price per pie that would allow Miscellaneous to break even in terms of net income. So to do this, we're going to go up to data, go to goal seek, and we are going to change the net income to 0. So we're going to set the net income to 0 by changing the cost per pie, or the price per pie, sorry. When we do this, we find that the new cost per pie to break even on net income is $17.33. And this stays the same if we were to not have the tax hard coded, as the EBT, which we use to calculate the tax, is also 0. So 0 times any percent is going to get us 0, keeping our net income at 0 where we need it. I'm going to reverse that back now that we know what it is, so that the rest of our work stays accurate. So the goal seek feature is extremely useful for finding out how we can change one part of our our setup, our kind of not equation, but series of formulas. If we change one number, how much we need to change it by to make another number a set amount. So in this case, we wanted our net income to be 0. We wanted to find out how we could get there specifically by changing the price per pie. We could do this by changing other factors too. For example, if we wanted to change our cost per pie, for example, if that was something that we would be able to do, we could change, we could have it uh, set to look for how we would get our net income to zero by changing the fixed cost, by changing the cost per pie. Sorry. So on to the last part. We're going to be calculating the degree of operational leverage, degree of financial leverage, and degree of combined leverage for the new pie line. So in this case, for our degree of operational leverage, it's going to be our sales minus our variable cost divided by EBIT. So sales minus variable cost divided by EBIT. That gets us a degree of operational leverage of 13.5. And then our degree of financial leverage is our EBIT divided by our EBT. If we were doing this in a different income statement where there was preferred dividends, we would also need to include that with EBT along with our tax rate. So here it's EBIT divided by EBT. Now, because our EBT is negative, we're going to get a negative uh, degree of financial leverage, and this is also going to affect our degree of combined leverage, negative 18. So that is all the problem is asking for, but out of the desire to show off more of or use GoalSeek a little bit more just to show its capabilities. I'm going to change the cost per pie, see how much we need to reduce that by. So if we were to reduce our cost by a pie also by 33 cents, we would get our net income to zero, similarly to what we were looking at earlier. So it seems that our price to cost spread is too close to currently turn a profit. If we were to say set this to zero and change the number of pies we sell, we would need 4,750 pie sales to get our net income to zero. And the last one I would like to try is changing the number of pie sales. Whoops, not the number of pie sales. Net income to, let's say, 10,000 by changing the number of pie sales. So for this example problem, our miscellaneous bakery might want to consider if they believe pie sales will increase after the first year, or if they don't see the pie sales exceeding what they're currently at, it might affect their decision of whether they should introduce the pie line altogether, as if she believes there will be some upfront cost to starting the pie sales and they'll pick up, then it might be worthwhile for her. But if she doesn't see that pickup in pie sales, it might not yield profit, as it currently isn't yielding profit, but she would only need to sell about 2,000 more pies to bring in net income of $10,000. So depends how you look at it. Let me do one more. say 3,000, changing pie sales. So she'd need to sell 750 more pies. So this can be a very useful feature for looking at some uh, quick changes in certain numbers, and it could perhaps be faster than doing a scenario manager, but it is more limited than the scenario manager. So I would say it's overall a very useful tool, especially for seeing what quick small changes could be made, or looking at big pic big picture changing individual individual numbers to get a a specific overall goal. So that is it for my professional video. Thank you very much for watching.